All right, folks, here we go. Day 2 of the quadratic formula. Again, I don't have my handy dandy holder, so I'm holding my phone by hand. So if it's shaky, that's why. All right, so for your do now real quick, just a reminder, when we're finding the zeros, we have to take this piece and set it equal to 0. So it's x squared plus 5x plus 6 equals 0. I have my a as 1. My b is in front of the x, so that's 5. And my c is the number, so that is going to be the 6. Okay. I'm not going to go through that whole thing right there because we're going to do more quadratic formula. Remember that you get a point just for doing the writing down the quadratic formula and knowing to utilize it appropriately. Okay, so when I do this question right here, and if you read the box over here, it says sometimes our answer will have a number inside the square root. That's not a perfect square. So that when you type it into the calculator, you're not going to be able to get a number like we did for last lesson where it just came out to a 1 and a -3, right? Nice easy numbers when we typed it into the calculator. Sometimes it gives us long decimals, and that's okay. We'll just use that as the answer, and I'll show that specifically when I do this. All right, so we're going to start off the same way. Okay, so my A is equal to 1, my B is equal to 4, my C is equal to -20. All right, I'm going to utilize my quadratic formula. So it's going to be x equals, it's up over here for you guys. You do not have to memorize this. It's a reminder from yesterday. -b plus or minus the square root, b squared minus 4, ac. Oh, I was supposed to write out the formula. I'm sorry. I'll just end up making this a -4. You should write out the formula first. That was my fault. I just was kind of looking up over here. My fault. Either way, we're now at the point where we're going to split it up just like we did last lesson. Same exact method. X equals -4. We have the plus version, and then we have the minus version, right? Plus or minus. We have a plus version over here. And then I'm going to have the minus version on the other side. All right, now we're going to go back into the calculator. Again, I'm using the app version that I had messaged you guys about. You can use the one that is just like our calculator. I'm not going to go over that because we've been using our calculator a whole lot throughout this year. This is a little bit new. So remember, just a reminder from yesterday's lesson, lesson 5, is that when we're typing this into the calculator, the numerator needs its own set of parentheses and the denominator needs your own set of parentheses. Okay, so I'm going to utilize that in the calculator over here. Okay, so it's going to go parentheses -4 plus the square root 4 squared minus 4ac. Remember, I have to get out of the square root first by hitting the over button, and then I can close the parentheses. Divided by, in its own set of parentheses, 2 times 1. Okay, close the parentheses for the 1, and then I have to close the parentheses for the whole denominator. That's the only tricky part about this calculator. Otherwise, it does everything for you. You can utilize the graphing and everything on there, okay? So when I hit enter, if you notice, it gives us a really long, ridiculous decimal. We don't really want that, okay? So what we're gonna end up doing is we're going to just end up typing in this portion of the, not including the square root, we're just going to type in what we get there. So it's going to be x equals -4 plus, we're going to type in 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times -20. Okay, that 96 goes right underneath the radical. 2 times 1 is 2. And we're just going to leave the answer just like that. Okay, I'm going to go over here. This is going to turn out to be the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to just end up doing x equals -4 minus 96 all over 2. Okay, and I'm just going to leave my answer like that. Okay, no reason to write a big long decimal. Okay, let's see what we got here. All right, so I'm going to do letter A, and then I'll kind of walk you through your homework a little bit. I'm not going to make this too long or drawn out. I'll give you a head start on your homework. I would like to do letter A because we haven't really done one where the A is not 1. So I'll go over letter A. The issue with letter A is that it's not set up equal to 0. So I have to first get this 3 over to the other side. Okay, I do not combine like terms here. They're not like terms, right? X squared, X, and numbers, they're not alike. So I just write it straight out. 2x squared minus 10x plus 3 equals 0. I have my A as 2. My B is -10, right? It's a minus 10x. So my B is -10 and my C is 3. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to have 1 over here. I'm going to have 1 over here. So my B is -10. So it means that negative B is really -10, right? I have a negative and my B is -10. So -10 means I have a positive 10. That's a little tricky. I have the plus version over here. B squared minus 4AC all over 2 times 2. Okay, and on this side, I'm just going to do the same thing, but just the minus version. Okay, I'm going to type this into the calculator. I'm going to clear out whatever I have in here. So I'm going to have parentheses 10 plus square root B squared minus 4AC. Get out of the square root first, and then I can close the square root divided by 2 times 2. Okay, and I get a big, long, ridiculous, irrational decimal. Okay, so that shows me that I'm going to leave this alone. I just have to simplify this part that's underneath the radical. Do not include the radical, okay? We'll get there in a moment. I just want to make sure this one right here also turns out to be a big, ridiculous, long decimal. So I do the second entry trick. I do delete. Be careful, I hit it one time. Hit enter, and again, I get a big, long, ridiculous decimal. I don't want that. All right, so I'm just going to type in what I have in blue. That's going to be the same for here and for here. So it's going to be -10, oops, 10 squared minus 4AC. Okay, that's just underneath the square root. It's a 76. So I'm going to go back to here. x equals, you can even kind of bring back the plus and minus if you want to. So you could do 10 plus or minus. You don't have to write it out 2 times. This is going to be 76, and this is going to be 76 as well. All over 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, if you wrote it separately, just like we did for the first example question, right, and you gave your answer here and here, they're synonyms of one another. It's the same exact thing. Okay, there's absolutely no problem writing it separately or kind of smushing it and writing it one time with the plus or minus. Okay, just going over your homework real quick. Here, you just have to make sure you get this 10 over to the other side. So you're going to have your x squared minus 8x. I'm going to do minus 10, minus 10. Okay, this side is going to be a 0. And you have your minus 10 over here. You should now be able to list out your A, your B, your C, and fill it into the quadratic formula. Don't forget, take a picture of this. Doesn't matter whether it's right or wrong. I'm not grading homework. I'm grading participation of your homework. So take a picture of this, upload it as your assignment, and you get full credit. Okay. Again, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for you guys just to do your work, just like we do in school. Any questions, send me a message on Remind, and I'd be more than happy to help you. I know this is rough, so just do the best you can, guys. Talk to you soon.